So the first thing we do is we just make a plain old open C chord. Now what I want you to understand, this is the first kind of unusual element if you've never thought about this before, but when you make a C chord, your C chord essentially really does have a bar. You're just not playing it. And that bar is the nut. Okay? It's the open strings. Because if I wanted to take this C chord and make it into a bar chord, I would have to move up a fret and then bar over the first fret. If I want to move it up again, I'd move my bar up again, and so on. Okay? So please remember, any open chord that you know how to play can theoretically be made into a bar chord by moving it up and barring in front of it, or putting a capo in front of it, or whatever it is that you'd be doing. Anything is movable. The problem is, and let me go back to this and show you this, if I go back to a plain old G chord, 3-finger, 4-finger, it doesn't make any difference, but a plain old G chord, and I want G sharp, that's the chord I want. Well, I know I can take the 6-string bar chord and move up to the 4th fret and create G sharp. Okay, here's the problem though, guys, and I want you to try this. Okay, I want you to make G with your 3 fingers. I want you to make it with your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers. Just make a plain old G chord. If you've never done it with those 3 fingers, it feels a little funky anyway, but do the best you can. Okay, now here's the problem. If we want G sharp from this G chord, because again, any open chord is movable, I could take G and move it up 1 fret, but then I got a bar at the 1st fret. The 1st fret, not the 2nd fret, the 1st fret. Now, even if you're capable of playing what I'm doing right now, moving that G chord up a fret and then barring at the 1st fret, even if you're capable of doing it, you have to admit that it's quite uncomfortable. So here's what I'm saying is you can play the same chord many different ways on the guitar. I could take this G sharp, or excuse me, this G open chord here with my 2nd, 3rd, 4th fingers, move it up a fret and bar over the 1st fret and create G sharp, which again is not comfortable for me. Okay? The other way I could do it is simply by taking the E chord and moving to the 4th fret and creating G sharp. So you see, that's a reason why I would do one over the other. Okay? But here's the kicker, everybody. We are going to be using this shape. I'm going to show you how we're going to use that logically. So we're back on the C chord again. I kind of go off on tangents, I know. So here's your C chord. Okay? Here's what I want you to understand. If you look at your 3rd finger, it's on the 5th string on the 3rd fret. Now you should know by this course so far that that note right there is C. So here's the first connection, which you already know. You may have never thought about it, but if I bar over the 5th fret, or excuse me, the 3rd fret 5th string, and then I make my A shape, which is my 3rd finger, over those 3 frets, I'm making a 5th string bar chord, which again, you should know at this point. This is C, right? A sharp, B, C. I'm making a C chord. So there's the first step of the CAGED system, is that shape, which is the C chord, but again, let's stop calling it C chord. Let's think of it as, it is a C chord, but it's the C shape in the root position. It's in the place that it's supposed to be. But we're going to move all of these around the fretboard. We're going to start moving everything around. So this C shape connects to this A shape, which is your 5th string bar chord. Here's C, and here's C. Okay? So what we have to learn how to do at some point here, and I'm going to discuss this with you, is move this guy out of position with a bar in front of it. And when I do that, this 3rd finger is still going to be my connection point to go to my 5th string bar chord. Okay? So I'm going to explain all 5 positions for you. I'm going to play all 5 positions for you, and then I'm going to start moving around a little bit and show you how I would think about this. So here's the C chord in its root position. Then I move to the 5th string bar chord, which is A. So I've done C and A of the CAGED system. So the next available thing for me to do is the G shape. CAGED, C-A-G. Okay? So where your 3rd finger is right now, I want you to put your 1st finger over those bottom 4 strings. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're pressing on the 1st string or not, but don't worry about it if you are or aren't. It doesn't make any difference. But you need to press on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings with that guy, because you're really doing the same thing you were doing right here. You're doing the same thing with your 3rd finger. You're just doing it with your 1st finger. Then your other 3 fingers are going to make a G chord. Now take this slowly. Now this G chord is being placed on the 8th fret of the 6th string. That note right there is C. Okay? You see how this is working? So we've gone from 0 fret to 8th fret so far, and in all the frets, we've had an available C chord. We had a C here, we had a C here, and now we've got a C here. Now, if you think about it, again, G moved up to the 8th fret would be C. A moved up to the 3rd fret would be C. Okay? So again, here's the big disconnect that you got to get used to is, like when I was a kid, I had created all of these open chords and then I learned how to play bar chords. But when I was a kid, I never understood that bar chords were actually coming from open chords. You have to understand that everything that you've ever done for chord stuff moving around the guitar has always been part of something bigger. Okay? It's always been part of something else. It's not like you move up to the 7th fret and you make something completely different that you can't do in the open position. It doesn't work that way. Everything, just like our scales and everything we've been discussing, everything is movable. You just have to disconnect in your head that C really can be moved around the guitar, but when you move it, it becomes something else, right? D really can be movable. G really can be movable. So we're already used to moving E's around the fretboard and A's around the fretboard. Well, now what we got to do is start getting used to everybody else. So we have built the C chord in its root position. Off that 3rd finger, we've connected the A shape, which is the 5th string bar chord, the one you probably already know, okay? And they connected by that note right there. You have to remember that. It's really important to find what I refer to as a connector, but the point where they start connecting to each other. Because when we get out of the key of C, you're going to start going, well, I'm not sure how I find these. Well, that's how you find them. You got to have a connection point, okay? So if I'm on C, regardless of where it is, right now it's in the open position, in the root position it's supposed to be in, but it could be anywhere. I'm going to find the next chord, which is the A shape, because it's caged off of that 3rd finger. The next shape, which is the G shape of the caged, I'm going to find it off of my 3rd finger right here. I'm going to bar over those 3 strings, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Again, if the 1st is in there, fine. If it's not, doesn't matter. Okay? But then I got to make a G chord. And remember, you need a space at the 6th fret right now. Don't play it here. You got to play it right here. So don't play 5, 6, and 7th frets. You got to play 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. Okay? Now, it might be hugely uncomfortable, and you might be saying, I can't reach that. It's okay. In a little bit here, once I've shown you how this works, I'm going to show you how you're actually going to really use it. Okay? So there is my G shape being C. Okay? Now, where these 2 fingers are the 8th fret. That's where my bar is going to go. So I'm going to bar over all 6 strings and make the E shape. Now get a load of that. You already know this one. If you know your 6-string bar chords, that's what I'm on right now. Okay? So you have a couple of safety spots. You have your safety spot down here on the 5th string, and you have your safety spot up here on the 6th string. Okay, so here we are. We're on the C chord, but using the E shape. So we only have one left. We have the D shape of the caged, C-A-G-E-D. This one I'm going to find with my pinky. Okay, my pinky is on C right now. So where that pinky is, I'm going to bar over those bottom 4 strings. Now again, you wouldn't have to bar. I'm going to show you in a little bit why you might want to. The most important thing here is you'd want to play the 4th string, but I'm going to bar because I'm going to wind up doing different things with my fingers. But if you find it really tough to bar and you just want to play the 4th string, you're still fine. It's with these other 3 fingers now, I have to play a D shape. So remember, there's still going to be a space. So my 1st finger is sitting at the 10th fret. My 2nd and 3rd fingers are sitting at the 12th fret. And my pinky is sitting at the 13th fret. These are making the D shape. This chord right here is C. So I have C, 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 and then when it gets here, I've gone through all 5 shapes, so I need to start all over. Okay? And this is important because remember, you're not always going to start with the C shape. So we have to know how it connects to the next one. So right now I'm sitting on the D shape, so I have to go back to the beginning, which is C. So where these 2 fingers are, where my 2nd and 3rd fingers are, which at this point is at the 12th fret, I'm going to bar over those bottom 3 strings and make a C chord with my other fingers. So I'm doing an octave of that one. And the whole system just starts all over again. So the first thing for you to do is to understand how this CAGED system works. And the way to do that is to create those connection points. Literally visualize the C shape connecting to the A shape connecting to the G shape connecting to the E shape connecting to the D shape, and then of course the D shape back to the C shape again. Because you're not always going to be starting with the C shape, remember that. We might be in the key of G and we're starting with who knows what, where. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to run through that real quick again, show you how I would connect them all together, and then I'm going to explain to you a little shortcut for you to be able to memorize this. Okay, so I have my C chord in the open position, which connects to the A chord, the fifth string bar chord shape, which is the A shape. Now again, they're making C, you should be able to hear that. They're both creating the same chord shape. Now, one other thing I should mention too, when I do these, a lot of times people go, well, that sounds a little different. Well, yes, it is going to sound a little different because you're playing different octaves here and there. As you keep moving up the guitar, you're playing different octaves each time. Also, the order in which the notes are being played are going to change because the shapes that you're doing are changing. So the notes are always the same. I'm playing C, E, and G. We know that from our triads. I'm playing the notes C, E, and G over and over and over, but the order in which they're being played is going to change. And the octaves that I am playing as I move up are going to keep changing as well. So there is going to be, again, a little bit of timbre difference in there, okay? So I have C. Remember the word timbre? I mentioned that earlier, but timbre is the quality of the sound. Okay, timbre, you know, if you hear a note C on the trumpet, it sounds different than the note C on the tuba, right? It's still C, but it just sounds differently. That's timbre. So I've got C, A shape, that connects right here where the third finger is onto the G shape, which connects where these two fingers are at the 8th fret to the E shape, which connects where the pinky is to the D shape. Sorry. There you go. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was. Okay. And then where these two fingers are at the 12th fret, you're going to bar over that and make the bottom. You're going to make a C chord.